Well, welcome you to the Ascension Parish Council meeting of November the 15th. We'll ask Ms. Fontenot if she'll lead us in prayer, followed by the pledge. Please rise.
Father God, we are so grateful and thankful tonight for our parish, for our citizens, and for our soldiers that are abroad fighting for our country. Tonight, Father God, we ask that you give us wisdom. We ask you to help us to bring truth and righteousness forth, and we ask you to provide for everything that this parish needs. We thank you, Father, that you guard our borders and secure our borders and our gates with your glory. In Jesus' name, we thank you and praise you. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 2, the roll call. Ms. Suzanne, please note that Mr. Councilman Hillensbeck is not in attendance and with excuse. Number 3, chair's additions. We do have some 2/3 items that need to be added to the agenda. First item is a resolution for Disaster Housing Assistance Program. Martha Collins, you do have the information in front of you. I'll give you a second to look over that.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Barrett, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition to putting that on the agenda? No opposition. We're going to put that at 10A under General Business. I have another 2/3 agenda item that needs to go under the Utilities Committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Barriger, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? We'll put that following the Finance Committee meeting items. We'll put that as a Utilities Committee recommendation, and that will be 9D. We also have 2 items that need to be under the Transportation Committee recommendations.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Barriger, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? You have those items in front of you also. No discussion, no opposition. We will put those at 9E under committee reports. We will take up A and B. Okay, any other 2/3 agenda item? All right, we'll move now to the public comment period time. Anybody wishing to speak on any agenda item listed on our agenda, you may sign in with our secretary and you'll have 3 minutes to discuss that agenda item. Agenda item number 5, presentations. Special Tuesday. We have Miss Bobby Blanchard with Special Tuesday presentation. Miss Blanchard.
Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I'm here representing all the people with disabilities for Special Tuesday. I'm also here to thank you all for all the help you've given us and support, recognizing a need and helping us to do something about it. I have a budget.
Miss Blanchard. Miss Blanchard, use the mic, please, for us.
I thought it was
there you
close.
go. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
All right, I'm going to pass out some budgets that it takes to run Special Tuesday to each of you.
Thank you. BJ found him yesterday. We don't need one. He's not this
Thank you, Mayor.
If you notice at the beginning balance, we had $2,678.85. Our income, we had $5,000 for the intergovernmental agreement. Donations through some churches, religious organizations, and in lieu of flowers through my mother and father's death. And that came to $9,745.47. Expenditures, we had equipment, $3,651.92. We had a little unexpected expense. We had to buy 26-foot tables in order to have Special Tuesday. Kitchen supplies, $595.62. Office supplies and postage, $1,785.93. Food, $1,316.18. This isn't counting the food that was donated. Miscellaneous, $123.56. The total came to $7,473.21. The ending balance, we have $2,272.26, which we're hoping will be enough for their Christmas party, which is going to be December 8th. Now, I brought a little DVD. Becky, you ready? It's a 6-minute DVD, a presentation for you of actual footage and activities this summer that took part at Go Porto Special Tuesday. I think you will enjoy seeing the results of your investment. You notice everything pertains to hand-eye coordination, movements, anything to make them respond to actions. And that's the pride of my life.
Thank you.
So, all right, now I'd like to present each one of you with the certificates that we have for you in honor of all the help you've given. Thank you, Mother. Each one gets this certificate of appreciation of the whole council.
Thank you.
I would be honored if we could get a picture of the council really, maybe after we get through this.
You want to try it after? I can do it quick.
Yes, run low.
Thank you, Miss Bobby. Appreciate it.
I thank all of you with all my heart. I hope it wasn't too boring, people. You have to come to step two to find out what it is. And it really made me feel good to see all of, well, most of the council people that came to Special Tuesday on that last Special Tuesday. And it made the people feel good too. Thank you, and I hope to have your continued support.
Thank you, Miss Bobby. All right. We'll move now to the Parish President's report. Parish President Ron Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. Begin by wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving next week, and got so much to be thankful for. Ms. Betty Robert, our Public Information Officer, is going to give you a brief report on our new website, how that's progressing, and when that will be available to the public. It's going to be a significant improvement over what we have now. So, Betty?
Good evening. Councilman Valentine, Chairman Valentine, and all of the council members. We have been actively pursuing updating our website. Ozzy has actually created a whole new website that will replace the one that we've been using for the past, well, 3-point-something years that I've been here. This current parish website will be a dynamic, I'm reading his words, will be a dynamic database-driven website featuring a 100% web-based content management system. This secured multi-use administration system will allow each department to create and manage all the content they wish to publish to the public. What Ozzy has done is we've asked each department to designate a webmaster, and he has trained the webmasters from each department to be able to input data on the website, and it will assure that from December 1st, when this is rolled out forward, that the website will always be active and up to date. They will be mandated at least once a month, once a week, to check to be sure that everything on the website that pertains to their departments is up to date. So it should be really a big improvement, and it should really put a lot of information out that people have been asking for. The primary goal of this website is to ensure that a visitor can get the information he or she wants with only no more than 3 clicks of a mouse. So that's our aim, and these are some of the special features it will include. We'll have a parish government events calendar on the site. There will be departmental contact system available to people who are trying to get in and use the site. Interactive, frequently asked question knowledge base, so that when we get a number of questions that pertain to the same thing, we will address that by having something on the site that people can go to, and it'll be answers to the most frequently asked questions. It'll be a friendly, topical content subscription system. Supposedly, and I'm really not that familiar with web-based management, but Ozzy's brought me in there, and he's a lot over my head when he starts talking about how to use it, but I find it user-friendly, so I'm not so computer literate, so I think if I can find it user-friendly, I think it will be. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. He calls it RSS, a really simple syndication feed system, so we'll see. It's got site-wide content, search motor, departmental-specific content. As I said, we'll have meeting agendas on it. We'll have meeting minutes on the site. We'll have a video archive on the website, a photo gallery on the website, and web-based mapping, and many more things. It will be up and running on December 1st, and so you all hold us to it, because we've really worked hard, and that's our goal, and I think we'll meet it without any problem.
Thank you, Betty.
If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Yes, Ms. Betty. Where we at for this putting in a work order from our computer at home?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll have it for you by tomorrow morning if that would work.
I think we need to work on that.
Okay. Is
Because
anybody
sometimes
else
we can't
needing-
get into the office. Sometimes people have a problem and they call you, and you could just go online and put the work order in. I know there's programs out there like SAP, different other type programs, and I'm just curious why we are not looking at some of that stuff.
Okay. I'll have a conversation with Ozzy and see if I can get you an answer tomorrow morning. Anyone
Ms. Fontaine.
else?
I just want to ask about the spam. I'm still getting a lot of spam on mine, so...
You know, he did install this new Barracuda spyware that's supposed to cut down on a lot of that, and actually I'm still getting it too.
Well,
so
the
I don't
thing
know
about
that
the first time I saw the Barracuda thing was yesterday when an email that I sent to a parish government employee bounced back to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, this is a concern, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard when you try to pull up your email and you have, you know, 5 really important emails and you have 50 of something else.
Yeah. What we ran into a couple of weeks ago, and I know Suzanne was a victim of that, is that so many things were blocked that we couldn't get emails that we were actually waiting on. So they went back and looked at it again, but I'll talk to him about that and we'll address that. Anyone else? Okay, we'll check
Thank you,
on
Ms.
us
Bailey.
on December 1st.
Okay.
Mr. Turner, our Public Works Director, is going to give us a brief update on 2 state road projects that are impacting our parish a lot, Highway 74 and Highway 44. Bob?
Mr. President, Chairman Valentine, members of the Commission, we've got 2 roads that really significantly affect a lot of traffic, and I wanted to give you an update. I called the state and spoke to the area engineer this afternoon. On Highway 44, they have told me that they're in the process of pouring the bridge rail now. It's a remaining work to be done on the bridge on 44, and that the road would be open in the first week of December. So we're looking forward. Now the road itself will not be completed, but this will enable the road to be opened. The other one that I want to tell you about is LA 74. If you've been out there, you've seen they're working very diligently on that. There is a significant feature that they're going to do, and that is they're going to have to close the road in the area of Chester Diaz Road in order to install 2 rather large box culverts. They're going to close the road this Saturday, November the 17th, at 8 p.m. and it will remain closed while they complete these 2 culverts. Then they're going to move to the east towards Airline about 800 feet, and they're going to replace 2 more culverts at that, and the road will be closed. Now, for those individuals who are between the 2 culverts, they'll do the first one, open the road back up so the people can get out going to the west. The people on the east can go to Airline to get out. The road then will be opened on Thanksgiving morning at 5 a.m. in the morning. So it's going to be a rather intense work, but they're going to complete that as quickly as they can. They're currently overlaying the road. If you go out and see where they cut the road to put the culvert in, they are cutting a thin base course that they put down, and it will come back and they'll put a final course on top, and you'll never be able to see where the road was cut. Be glad to answer any questions that you have. We're clearly looking forward to the completion of both of these roads.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Councilman Savoy.
Mr. Bob, I do have a concern. For those of us that travel Highway 30, about 2 years ago, they went in and they cut culverts right there pretty close to Highway 44. If you travel Highway 30 today, there's a dip at both of those culverts. Are we doing something different than what they've done to where 2 years from now, we're not going to have dips at these particular cuts that we're making today?
I'm sorry I can't answer that, Councilman Savoy. I'm not familiar with the process that they used on the Highway 30 project. I can tell you that they will install the new culverts and compact it in layers as they come up, so that there should not be any settlement in these locations. I will check to see if there's any significant difference between what they did on Highway 30, and I'll ask them to look at the dips to see if they could correct those.
Please check, because you want a disgruntled taxpayer that's been waiting for years for Highway 74 to get repaved, and to finally get repaved only for a couple of years down the road to start having serious dips in the road, because they're getting ready to have to do something to these dips on Highway 30. It's getting to that point. That was one concern I got. Second concern is, as far as our part, as far as the drainage board is the one that's putting the culverts in?
It was a combination of the drainage and public works. Actually, public works crews installed the large culvert working with the drainage. Drainage worked in the channel, public works put the culvert in.
One thing for us to keep in mind is that they do have some businesses in between where we're getting ready to close the roads. Closing the roads for an extended period of time is detrimental to these particular businesses, so please keep that in mind and work expeditiously to get the road reopened for that particular business.
Absolutely. Very good point.
That's all I have.
I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any other questions, Mr. Bob? Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. A couple items is not on the agenda. One, we know we have a lot of young people here tonight, and we missed them last meeting in Donaldsonville. Miss Betty Bourgeois, I think it is, her civics class from East Ascension High School. So we had the young people stand up. This is part of their curriculum and learning about government, and so we want to, I'm sure they'd have probably came even if they weren't trying to get a grade, just because they're interested in their community. So good to have you guys here. And we had a few last time, I say, in Donaldsonville who came over as part of that same class. This morning we had our second to last meeting of the year of the Baton Rouge Loop Committee, the Executive Committee. And it was a very good meeting. Some potential routes in our parish have been eliminated. Some others have been added. I'm not sure if this map is going to be really very discernible to you, but we'll get you some copies of it. Of course, yellow is the original routes when they first started work on this project several months ago. This morning, if you can see the red, those are the ones that have been eliminated in northern Ascension, primarily due to heavy development. That in pink is a possible new alternative. Those in green are also possible replacements for those in red. Two bridge crossings on the Mississippi River have been eliminated due to concerns with the U.S. Coast Guard and the Corps of Engineers. So this project is really moving forward. This morning, Citigroup, one of the financial institutions who is involved with the state of Texas, with the Austin project, as well as PCMB, and I've got the KCPB, I think, all these initials. But these are two companies that are very active in the private-public partnership arena for building highways. And if you're familiar with the city of Austin, they have been in the process for years now, and they use both private dollars and some public dollars in this project. And so the same two companies involved with that from the financial side are involved with us. They're the leading firms with these kinds of projects. This project is projected to cost about $4 billion. We should receive by the first quarter, the end of the first quarter next year, the financial models on the various segments. Some of it would be federal money, some of it would be state, some of it would be private dollars, people who buy concessions, receive tolls, and so forth. So but it's moving along really well. And on the next meeting in December will actually be a combined meeting of the stakeholders group, the engineering consulting group, and the 5 parish presidents making up the executive committee. And they hope to have at that meeting some final determinations on the best routes for this. And more than likely, it'll be just segments, small segments, some spurs where the tolls will be generated quickly to help move the project forward. If you have a chance to get over to the Austin area, encourage us all to do that. They're in the process now of adding the spur between Austin and San Antonio, which is another phase of that project. And so this is kind of unique in our parish. Well, very unique in our parish, unique to our state. These same people are involved. If you're familiar with Fort Pouchon area, and I know Ken is, he's been working down there. That is a toll road to help in the area with all the energy. When we have serious storms, we have flooding over Highway 1, that will become a toll road, parts of that, with some private funding involved with the public sector. And that construction is actually underway now. I went down to Grand Isle weekend before last to look at some of that, and that is coming up out of the marshes. And so we really feel like we got the right team of people involved. We're looking at the Baton Rouge Loop. I was glad to see that they eliminated some areas of our parish that have been heavily developed and have been very, very expensive, and some environmental issues to go there. The website, Baton Rouge Loop, the public is invited to go in and offer your comments, your feedback. If anybody thinks we're not really trying to do this right and not listening, you need to go to some of these meetings. It's very, very open and transparent, and we have some really good people involved who have done these things before. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions about the loop.
All right, thank you. Any questions of Ms. Fontenot?
Well, I just do have a couple of comments. I did attend the meeting that we had at the Civic Center in Gonzales a while back, and I did get some feedback from several of the people in my area, and they were very concerned because there was a lot of maps, but it really looked like spaghetti, or some of them said like maybe gourmet food where they drizzled the little orange around. I really think that we really need to have some sort of a clearer type map, at least for our people, to know, so that we can know and understand in Ascension Parish the potential routes. Because you did say that we relieve some of the north, but I mean everyone here in Ascension is interested to know how close this is coming to their neighborhood, and this map that you just showed up there does not give us a clue. So if you could get us something, you know,
You'll have it as soon as we get it.
As soon as you can get it, to get it out there. So
working process, Shirley.
Right. Any other questions of Parish President? Comments? Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 7, the consent agenda. Adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of October the 18th. Adopt the minutes of the special meeting of the council of October 23rd, 2007, and adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting of November 1st, 2007. Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert. Second by Councilman Jerry Savoy. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved. We'll move now to committee reports. Personnel Committee meeting, appointment of Planning and Zoning. Councilman Savoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Planning and Zoning, the Personnel Committee met last Tuesday. We had 4 of the best applicants that we've seen come across in regards to experience in planning and zoning. The Personnel Committee recommended Ms. Beverly Boyer.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Berger. Councilman Berger. Second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion. Mr. Savoy, you want to finish with her
resume?
Just
to give you a little bit of her background. She comes from having 37 years of experience in public government, in planning and zoning, and in public works, and she comes from St. Bernard Parish. Highly qualified to take on the task and hit it and run it. So that's
we have a second. I mean, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any other discussion? Any opposition? So moved. Thank you, Chairman Savoy. We'll move now to the Finance Committee meeting. Councilman Berger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 9A, approval of bid for new fire station for Fire District Number 3 from Stewart Construction, LLC, in amount of $2,187,000.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Savoy, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved.
Next, we have 9B, approval for Fire District Number 1 to purchase property on Highway 431.
Moved by Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Second.
Second by Councilman Thompson. Discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have some.
Councilman Barriger.
Yes. I know in the past we've had, we actually have one fire station under construction now, and I believe funding was pretty tight for that one. We have a couple other ones that need some work, and I'm not sure about the funding there. I want to make sure, if anybody can answer, make sure we have the funds for this fire station, have the funds to finish the one presently under construction, and the other needs. I just want to make sure we have the money and we're not overextending ourselves.
Anybody have any other comments dealing with that? Administration have any comments?
We discussed this in staff meeting this morning, and we have not seen an appraisal on this property. I'm not sure if legal has. Mr. Witek here, or I've got James here. James, do you mind coming forward to me and help me answer a question for the chairman? Because as of this morning, I had not seen an appraisal, and no one in planning had on this property. And obviously, we can't buy a property without some appraisal. So I'm not sure exactly what all has been done on this. Can you enlighten us, please?
I can just tell you, Mr. Parish President and Council, that the appraisal came in at $310,320, and the guy was selling the property for $280. That piece of information was supposed to be presented to the legal or to the council and all that. To answer Councilman Berger's question, we wouldn't even waste your time or come forward to you if we wouldn't have looked at the money and looked at the budget. We busy just like y'all. We don't have time wasting people's time. So we wouldn't have even come forward and even looked at this property if we didn't know we had the money in the budget. And as far as the appraisal, I know that the appraisal was done. I know it came in at $310 to $320. I know he's selling the property for $280. And if that information hasn't got into the hands of the right people, it's up to us to get it in the hands of the right people.
We would ask, Mr. Chairman, if you choose to approve this, that you would make it subject to that appraisal, and because we have not seen it to the best of my knowledge, James.
And I know that somebody's been meeting with the homeowner because they had to get the description of the property, and they had to get the ordinance drawn up or whatever. So somebody's been meeting with somebody. Now, if the proper paperwork hasn't got to the proper people, that's a fallback on our part.
As of this morning, no one on my staff has seen the appraisal, so we need that immediately.
And we will make sure that that happens. That should have already taken place.
Thank you for coming to the mic, sir.
Have a good one.
Mr. Lambert will add that to your motion. Okay. And who seconded it?
I second.
Mr. Thompson, that's okay with you. Councilman Councilman Berger, you still have the floor?
Go ahead.
Okay. Councilman Shakespeare.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not against us moving ahead with a fire station, something that you can move into or anything like that. My concerns is that as we go over the last few years, we've been constantly in the district in which we are in the southern part of the parish. It seems like every time something comes up to have money spent in the areas, there's always something to deny that improvements on the fire station in Sorrento and a number of other things. And then as something else comes up, the monies are there, we move forward. And I'm just concerned about it. I'm concerned it appears to be a pattern of it and everything, and I just want to make sure that that we are conscious of this and that we move across the board on things, because I've been involved in a number of requests for improvements at some of the stations that were either denied or not done, and expressing the concerns of monies. And as you know, then here's an opportunity, and it's not a bad business opportunity. I'm not against this from the standpoint of a business opportunity, but then my concern is, where do we stand now when we need improvements in these fire stations that are already there, and we're looking to get paid firemen coming in here and improvements that have to be made to adapt those fire stations to be able to handle this. And so, I've just not been satisfied that these improvements are going to be made to our fire stations before we move on with something else.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councilman Barrigan.
Yeah. Like I said, I just had some concern before. I know, for instance, on 7th District Fire Station, we had to cut $120,000 to $140,000 off of their budget and make some changes, go with cheaper things instead of upgraded things or really good things for the station because the money was not there. Now all of a sudden we're going to spend $281,000 on another situation, and 7th District isn't even finished yet. I hate to put the architect on the spot if it's allowable. I mean, is this station in budget? Are we going to be okay? We're going to need more money for 7th District? Is that allowable to ask that before I vote to spend Fire District 1's money on something else?
It's okay to ask whether you get an answer or not. I'm not sure. There was a discussion at the finance meeting, and I'm not sure it was made clear on exactly where the funds were going to come from. It just said that the funds were available. So that's all I remember about the discussion, Councilman Barrigan. If the Chief LeBlanc would like to respond to that, that's fine, or even the architect, that's fine also. I'm not sure if the architect is in a position to do that. Chief LeBlanc, maybe you want to respond to that, please.
The only thing that I will respond to is we didn't go out seeking property on 431 because we just felt like it. This was part of a PIL recommendation that we purchased property on 431, that we purchased property on Highway 22 around the Canyon Road, around the cabin area. So these are not things that we just, all of a sudden we woke up one day and we said, oh, they got a vacant building on 431, we ought to go jump on it. We took the plan that the PIL people told us, the strategic plan where we needed stations. I appreciate what Councilman Shake Snyder is saying, and believe me, I've been in enough meetings with Councilman Shake Snyder in the last couple months. We are looking at the parish as a whole. We're not just looking at one particular area. And I mean, if we can't sit here all night and tell you the plan that's going on parish-wide involving fire service, but I can tell you we're not just looking at one particular area. The comment about the $180,000 being cut from the 7th District budget is because we had to come back and look at the budget. I mean, the station came in at $1.4 million to remodel the station. We had to cut areas to be able to come within our budget. We all work within budgets. And I'll repeat it again. You councilmen appoint people to go out there on boards to do the job. We're not coming before you to waste your time and spend your money unwisely. We're going to spend it where it needs to be spent. Now, if Mr. Ken Jones, who's the architect of 7th District Fire Department, wants to come forward and tell you that we're in budget or within budget or not in budget, he can surely do that. But I can tell you, we as Fire District number 1, and I'm 21 years now involved in this, I'm not wasting your time and I'm not wasting mine. We're doing what's right for the parish as a whole, not in certain areas. And if y'all want to sit here all night long and talk about the plan, parish-wide, including Councilman Shake Snyder's area, we can. But I don't think y'all want to sit here all night long and talk about that. Thank you.
Chief, I think just so I can kind of move this along, I think some of the apprehension on some of the council members is because of what took place, I guess, at 7th District.
Correct.
Where AC, I guess, Santa Mo gave up some reconstruction so that they could, take the $1.4 million. Sorrento also gave up some money. So y'all had to do that to get the other one. I think there's just some apprehension to make sure that we do have the funds available.
And those plans that what we want to do in Sorrento and those plans and what we want to do in AC is all part of the 1, 3, and the 5-year plan. So, I mean, we're not going off the cuff here. We're not waking up in the morning and deciding we're just going to do this because we feel like doing it. We have a plan, all right, and we go on by the plan. Again, I want to reiterate to the council, we didn't just wake up one day and decide we want to buy property on 431. PIL did a study in Ascension Parish. They told us where it would be an excellent idea for us to strategically place fire stations. I've only told you about a couple of them. 431, Highway 22 over there by the cabin, Highway 74. Those are areas that they told us to start targeting. The reason why this all of a sudden is a fast move is because it's a building that's already built. It's already there. We got a truck to put in it. Somebody might say, well, you know, you bought that one on 44. Now we're spending $1.4 million. We got a little smarter on this one. We had 3 contractors go look at it, look at the building, tell us that the building was in sound condition to buy it. And I don't know how much of y'all know, but $280,000 on 431 for a building and land and concrete already on the ground. Can't ask for nothing better than that. With 3 contractors that already looked at it.
All right, just stay right there. Councilman. Oliver. Joe.
Chief, how you doing, Chief? Before you attack me, Chief, you talk about the PIL plan.
That's right.
Okay. Current, right now, before you answer me, okay? That plan have an estimated cost for the next 5 years. How much money in that plan you need to get that PIL plan to where we need to be? What's the estimated cost?
We don't have enough money in our budget to get to the PIL plan within the next 3 years. We have to prioritize the areas.
Okay, so if you had to build those 3 fire stations at an estimated of $2 million, you're $6 million short, and your budget a year right now is currently how much for the parish?
I don't know the budget right off the top of my head as far as $6 million, but I mean I can tell you that we don't have enough money in the budget right now to build 3 fire stations. No way possible.
Not in the next 3 years.
Not in the next 3 years.
Not in the next 5 years.
Unless now, the only thing I will say is there's a plan to come forward to try to get more funding and different avenues to get more funding, but we're not ready to present that plan to the council as a whole.
Councilman Shakespeare.
Yes, and Chief, as we said, we've spoken a number of times, and I'm not here to put you on the spot, and you have to understand our position as we're in here. The fire station, as you said earlier, started out as a $700,000 project and ended up being $1.4 million. As a $700,000 project, the Sorrento renovation of $650,000 would have been possible, and we would have been ongoing right now, which is which is necessary. And so that was cut and put on the back as another priority, and everybody agreed to that because that was necessary. Our concerns are, and we want to make sure it's publicly concerned, is that as we go on through the next steps, that we make sure that the priorities of where it was now, it can get moved back up so that we can have the $650,000 to renovate the station like it was planned before, that this doesn't get moved down again.
I agree.
And because, I mean, we just can't afford to just continue to do this. And,
I agree.
The conditions that are going on right now is just unacceptable. And I would also very much like to see we realize that we're expanding a great deal, is bring us a plan to, as Councilman Joseph, I think, said, we're probably $6 million in capital improvements right now, and that as soon as possible, if you can get us a plan to see how we can fund those things adequately so we can supply adequate fire for our
we have the plan. We just forward it to you, and we'll give it to you. We'll hand deliver it to you and email it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
I agree.
Okay, Councilman Thompson.
Yes, Mr. LeBlanc, I would like to commend you on the job that you're doing, the information and the emails you sent on things that's happening in the parish. Y'all doing an outstanding job, and we just want to commend you on it.
And look, I appreciate it. And I'm not uptight because I wasn't ready to come here tonight to speak. So I want to make sure y'all know that we're not going off the cuff. That we do have a plan, and we are prioritized.
All right. Parish President, I'm sorry, wait. Councilman Savoy.
I understand Mr. Barriger's concerns. I understand Mr. Shakespeare's concerns. They both represent fire stations in their particular area. Whenever you're dealing with the fire board and you're talking about parish-wide and you're talking about trying to satisfy PIAL, with the growth of the parish, when they see an opportunity to get a piece of property on a prime location for a fair price, they need to highly consider trying to get it the best way that they can. Because if you've been trying to buy a property on highly traveled areas where a PIL would be satisfied, it's very difficult to find a piece of property at a decent price. The best thing we can do is whenever it comes up, we grab it, or we try to get the developers to donate it like we're trying to do now. I think it was a good move. Can it look suspicious? Yes, it can. But like they said, they didn't go out and look for this piece of property. This property popped up. And if a piece of property popped up anywhere else in the parish and PIL said that they needed one, I think that the board needs to find a way to purchase the property. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go and develop it and build it out immediately, but at least secure the property so that you will have a site for a fire station in the future. So I think you've done a good job making that move. That's all I got.
Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, one quick thing, Mr. Ball. We talked about it at the finance meeting. I think this fire station is going to actually represent 3 districts. It's nearby. It's representing 7th District, Galvez Lake, which is the Lake Martin area, and Sanamon. So it's a big plus for our departments. Thank you, Mr. Ball.
Thank you. Councilman Barrett.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nobody insinuated that it's a bad deal or it's an unwise move for the fire board to buy it. The concern is, do we have enough money? Let's finish one station before we jump on another one. If we have enough money, it's on budget, and we're not going to run over, let's buy it. Let's just make sure we have enough money. If Mr. Ken could come up, and assure me that's going to happen, I'll vote for it tonight. It's no problem. I'm just trying to make sure. I'm not trying to beat up on anybody.
I understand.
Good afternoon. Ken Jones. I'll address the question. We've been working weekly with the contractor. At this point, we foresee no surprises, no change orders have even been discussed at this point, except for deductive, where we found some things in the building that were not as bad a shape as we were anticipating, and we're doing value engineering with the general contractor. We hope that we're going to have a net deductive change order, but we're keeping that kitty in the event there are some things that might run over. So right now we don't see any change to the contract amount, Councilman.
All of the demolition is done, everything's exposed. We shouldn't run into any big surprises.
We're thinking that we've run into everything that we're going to at this point.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Parish President, you want to mention something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate everyone's comments. It points to the needs in our parish and the lack of resources, y'all, which is really just as the fire districts don't have enough money to meet the growing needs of our parish. We don't have it in roads. We don't have it in recreation. There's several areas we're lacking. I just remind you gently and kindly that all we have is 1/3. Well, other than Fire District 3, I guess, all we have is 1/3 of a half cent that goes to fire, and we divide that up between the 3 fire districts. And so just the example of 7th District, where it went from 700,000 to 1.4. And so this new council, new parish president, is going to really have to seriously look at these issues. So we just, and everybody's made some very valid points, but no, if we put fire stations where we really should have them now, not even anticipating future growth based on the Insurance Institute's recommendation, Property Insurance Association of Louisiana, we do not have the money to do that and to properly man them and to equip them. It's just that simple. We do not have it in the dedicated fire tax. And so that's an issue that this body as a governing authority and our citizens are going to need to address. And while we mention it, it's probably time to really seriously look at hiring a fire chief for Fire District 1, as we have a full-time fire chief now in 2 and in 3. It probably needs to take place in Fire District 1, somebody that's working along with the Fire District Board and with our volunteer fire chiefs to really, because Fire District 1 is the biggest geographical area of the parish. And the needs in some parts of it are different than the other parts. Parts of it are still kind of rural. Parts of it are becoming more suburban. And so those needs are significantly different. And Jerry makes an excellent point when trying to buy some land, because in parts of that fire district, the land is still relatively inexpensive compared to some other areas of our parish. And so, please, James, and get to all the fire district and Gene to get that plan to all the members of the council so they can look at that, look at the anticipated cost for this. And we put $300,000 if you approve the budget tonight for a master plan next year. This fire plan needs to be part of that whole master planning process, because as we develop areas, the fire and we really need to try to get some land donated by the developer and let them pay for it, because we're not going to have the money to buy all that. So we can get a developer to donate that property within a new community that helps us significantly meet the needs of our citizens. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any opposition to the motion? Motion passes. Councilman Barriga.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 9C, contract renewals. C1, Jason Adams, MD contract, Medical Director of the Family Planning, STD Clinic, and Childhood Immunization.
Motion by Councilwoman Fontenot, second by Councilman Jerry Savoy. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved.
C2, District Attorney Pretrial Juvenile Drug Intervention Program.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Second.
Second by Councilman Jerry Savoy. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved.
C3, Curtis Environmental Services Incorporated, sewer testing at the Ascension Parish Jail.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Fontenot.
Second.
Second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved.
C4, Curtis Environmental Services Incorporated, sewer testing at Dara Facility, Country Ridge, and also Hopeville Estates.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Savoy, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved. Any other?
Mr. Chairman, that completes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Barriga. We'll go now to 9D, the two-thirds item, which the Utilities Committee recommendation, task order for URS for Hillaryville inspection not to exceed $54,100.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Barriga, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved. Move now to 9E, the two-thirds agenda item that was added, Transportation Committee recommendations. Ms. Fontenot, you have that?
I
You want
do
to take
have
that, please?
Mr. Bob presented to us at the transportation meeting the other night in order to keep the 206 road project moving right along, that there was a couple of change order items. They had forgotten one road, Annie Oak Drive, and they had some other different change orders in on 3 other roads. But the change order total come out all total on all 4 roads to be an additional $2,016.35.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Shakespeare, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved.
The only other thing I have to say, there will be no meeting.
There is a B to that, Ms.
There is
Fontenot.
a
You
B.
may not have it.
I don't have it. Okay, Delta Testing and Inspection Task Order for testing of roads in the 2006 RC 01 road project in the amount of $19,608.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved. Ms. Fontenot.
I did just want to say that we have completed our task for the year of 2007. We will not have a Transportation Agenda Committee meeting in December unless there is an emergency, and then we will call one. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Fontenot. Okay, we'll move on now. Agenda item number 10 has been pulled. We do not have the information ready for you on the hazardous mitigation planning pilot grant update. We will move now to another two-thirds, which was the 10A of the Disaster Housing Assistance Program. Ms. Collins, would you like to discuss that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, President Hughes, members of the council. The resolution tonight here deals with the disaster housing assistance program, and I'll be happy to read the resolution. To appoint the consulting firm of Roberto Macedo and Associates to administer the Parish Disaster Housing Assistance Program. The Disaster Housing Assistance Program is a temporary rental assistance program entirely funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, known as HUD, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. It's designed to assist families displaced from Hurricane Katrina and Rita in rebuilding their lives, getting on a path of self-sufficiency, and have an opportunity to find a permanent housing in pre-disaster areas and any other areas in their choice.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert on the resolution, second by Councilman Thompson. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. We'll move now to agenda item number 11, the update on the Mental Health Department study investigation. That was put on by Mr. Joseph. He requested that information from our legal attorney, Mr. Babin. Mr. Babin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Parish President. We were charged with finding someone to do this investigation. We did so. We had talked to several firms. We thought we had found a firm that was going to do it, HR Solutions Incorporated, Mr. Ronnie Laborde. We had met with Mr. Laborde's firm, given them all the legal basis of what we were doing, the copies of the charter, whatever they needed. Talked to them about the mental health board, its status, the parish governance, type of governance, and Mr. Laborde and them began the investigation. I believe they even did some interviews. I'm not sure they interviewed any of the mental health department, but I know they interviewed some other interested parties. Sort of in the middle of their investigation, they contacted me and said at that point in time that they felt that the project was outside the realm of their expertise. They told us that they were more human resource related. This got into medical management or management of medical facilities, those types of things, so they felt uncomfortable in proceeding any further. So after all that, it got us back to the drawing board. Needless to say, I asked them if they were going to charge us for anything. Since they didn't finish it, they said they were not. We've got some leads on some other firms to do it. I've contacted some firms that are auditing specialists, but they deal more with financial. So I've got feelers out with every hospital administrator I can think of to see if there's a firm that that I can get to get this task accomplished. So I thought we were a very short time period from having the report, but the firm that was chosen found that the project was not to their liking. So that's where we are at this point in time.
Mr. Joseph.
Mr. Babin.
Sir.
I know you're still searching, but what type of time length that you foresee that, how long is it going to take us to get someone or to do the investigation? That
we found out about HR Solutions 2 or 3 weeks ago. We should be able to get somebody on board in the next, I'd say, 2 weeks to a month. After that, it shouldn't take them but 2, 3, 4 weeks to get the report done. HR Solutions was going to get the report to us in pretty short order.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll move on now to the introduction of ordinance section. Agenda item number 12, the introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity to industrial for property located on the northerly and southerly side of Louisiana Highway 18, approximately 3,600 feet northeast of Musco Lane, Point Homus Plantation, 987.54 acre tract for Crawford Tebow Incorporated.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Berger, second by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Discussion. Any opposition? The ordinance is introduced. Number 13, introduction of an ordinance to establish...
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan called me on the side and said 13 may be written wrong on the agenda. It may have to be amended before we introduce it. The wording may be wrong.
Okay. Okay, since we have some question, I guess I'll ask for some explanation.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I think it's just a matter of maybe the title of the ordinance is incorrect. I think this is actually an ordinance to create create the T&D or approve the T&D concept associated with the development. Is that correct, Mr. Barranco? It's not actually an ordinance to create the CDD tonight. That'll come in a later day. I think you've got the right ordinance. It's probably just titled wrong. I believe that's the issue.
Okay, the ordinance we have in front of us, everybody have a copy of the ordinance that we have? Mr. Babin, do you have a copy of this ordinance? No, we do.
Number 12. I've
Yes,
got an
number
ordin-
12. No, excuse me, number 13.
13, I got an ordinance, and the body of the ordinance is to amend Ascension Parish zoning map, certain parish from Conservation C to traditional neighborhood development. This ordinance is to make a zoning change. Is this the right ordinance?
That's the right ordinance. It's just titled wrong on the agenda.
That's correct. In other words, the ordinance that we have in front of you that you did get in your packet ahead of time is listed incorrectly on the agenda.
So, if it be in order, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion to amend the agenda to state the introduction of ordinance to create the traditional neighborhood development of Riverton. Is that correct?
It's the initial to amend the zoning map from conservation to T&D, the Riverton Development Corporation.
Introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map by rezoning a certain parcel of land from Conservation C to traditional neighborhood development for developer's name?
Riverton Development Corporation.
For Riverton Plantation, the way it's stated here.
I'll second the
That was my
motion.
motion, Mr.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, there has been a motion to amend the agenda to read as Mr. Barriga stated and our attorney agreed, and second by Mr. McConnell. Do I have a discussion? Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
We just discussed, this was just discussed last night at the planning and zoning meeting.
That is the second time.
That was the second time it was discussed, but doesn't it usually come to us first for review only as a, or to accept or deny the concept?
Generally speaking, that would be the case.
I mean, we're doing an ordinance and we haven't even accepted the concept.
It's just an introduction. It's just basically the introduction.
But usually we do the concept and then we do the ordinance.
It's not the concept, it's the zoning.
Hold on. Ms. Fontenot has the floor. Mr. Ziegler, can you answer Ms. Fontenot?
Generally speaking, that is the case. Generally speaking, you accept or deny the recommendation. In this particular case, this T&D has been through the entire P&Z process twice. It has had basically no opposition at all. There were some questions the first time it went through a public hearing at the request of the developer themselves. Once that process was completed, actually about a day before it was actually to appear on your agenda, he has to go through the process again because of a ruling by an interpretation by their attorneys that it has to be advertised, a public hearing has to be advertised 3 times in the public record. Evidently, as long as items have been advertised in the parish, the best we can tell, we have considered as a parish 3 advertisements in the local newspaper to be enough advertising. However, their attorney's position was that our charter says that the Gonzales Weekly is our official advertising newspaper, and that advertising twice in the Gonzales Weekly and once in the Donaldsonville paper did not suffice, and so they asked to go through the process again. So this has gone through many, many public hearings, and at last night's deal there was no opposition at all.
Okay, but I think hers is a simple question. Hers is this the right process? In other words,
things come up for
hang on,
acceptance
Mr. Ziegler, hang on. Is the correct way to do this, even though it got approved last night, to first come to us to accept or deny? We accept or deny. If we accept, then it becomes an introduction. That's your question, right, Ms.
That's my
Fontenot?
question.
Yes.
We haven't gotten the material yet
Okay.
on the concept.
So we are one step out of order.
We are one step out of order.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Since there seems to be some confusion here, why don't we just pass on this to the next meeting?
Why don't you let me talk about it, okay? For instance, I do not want, what I'm fixing to say is I do not want another development to technically be stifled in the operation dealing with a technicality because we did not bring it in the correct form. Mr. Babin, would that be a correct assumption?
Yes, sir. The ordinance requires it to be presented to the council. That's why, in fact, I was explaining to some folks outside on another agenda item. It takes 4 presentations. That's why it seems like it takes so long. The first one, because the ordinance says it must be presented to the council at a meeting. That's the presentation. That's for review only. That's when we just give it to you. There's a public record built that you've been presented it. Second one is you accept or deny the Planning Commission recommendations. And then because the zoning ordinance is an ordinance can only be amended by ordinance. So then we have to go through the ordinance process to make the change to the zoning map, which you've adopted by ordinance. So that's why the 3-step procedure. I would not skip a step. If there is another, if they're happening simultaneously, I think that can be that's not as big an issue. But don't skip a step because they're all provided by ordinance.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I'd like to amend my original motion. Then my amendment should read to change agenda item 13 to a review only of the Riverton traditional neighborhood development.
And that's the problem. Problem is we're reviewing it, but we have nothing to review.
You do have it, Mr. Chairman. The ordinance is in your packet. Just the title is wrong. The actual ordinance to change from conservation to T&D is in your packet.
Chairman, we don't have the review of the plan. It's the plan that we need, the concept. We do not have the concept here.
Review. That's the way the T&Ds work, and so do the PUDs. You got to review the concept. You accept or deny. Then you do the ordinance. Right?
To do this confusion, perhaps the best thing to do.
I think the best thing to do would be to pass agenda item 13. Ms. Berger, you still have the floor, though.
Whatever y'all want to do.
Well, there was no second on yours, so that motion fails the lack of a second.
I made the second, but I withdraw it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to pass agenda item 13?
Motion. Chairman.
I do have a motion by Todd Lambert to pass agenda item 13, second by Dempsey. Discussion, Ms. Shakespeare.
Mr. Babbitt.
Sir.
Because it appears that for some, and I don't know how to describe it, but some kind of way we did not follow through in our normal methods to get this in the proper manner up here through no fault of the people that have brought it to us. I would like to see us, as Mr. Babin says, combine some of these steps so that the next meeting we can catch up to what we were here if it was introduced properly. We can take the information we have at the next meeting for review, have all the concept. I agree with Councilman Fontenot that we need to have the information in front of us to review, and then move to the next step and combine those steps at the same meeting. And so I would ask that we take a look at, through legal, combining those steps at the same meeting in the proper order with the proper information so that we can catch up to the process. Because this is a bit unusual that we are taking this many steps to get through this process.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Shakespeare. Okay, I have a motion and a second to pass agenda item 13. Anybody object to that? No objection. We'll move on. Agenda item number 14, introduction of an ordinance to abolish the mental health board. Parish President Ronnie Hughes.
You got it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We do have some public speaker cards on this particular agenda item, and typically we have allowed those citizens to speak first, so we'll do that again tonight. Ms. Christy Massingale, is that how you say that? Christy? Massingale, I'm sorry.
Council, my name is Grateful Hathaway, and I'm also one of the persons asking to speak. May I go first instead of her?
No, ma'am. They'll come as I bring them up. Thank you very much.
Let me lower this time. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Christy Massengale. I'm a previous employee of Parish of Ascension Counseling and Substance Abuse Center. Today caught me a little bit off guard. I was not prepared to come this evening. I actually spoke to the board earlier on an issue regarding the director of the clinic. I guess right now, though, my words need to be directed at why we need to keep the board. In my opinion, my voice was not heard previously. I had filed complaints regarding the director back in 2005 when I was working there. I was terminated from employment in February of 2005, and I do believe it was unjust. Tonight's the first night that I really feel that my voice was heard regarding the complaints and the things that are going on at that clinic, and I believe the board was my outlet to do that. From what I heard Ms. Cheryl reporting earlier, when she addressed the board, is that it's part of the protocol when we're dealing with substance abuse clinics, mental health clinics, the way they're all set up. They have that board set up to regulate and to help keep things in check, and so that personal opinions and political agendas do not get involved and don't take over when there's other issues at stake, and that's the community. That's the employees. Those are the children of this community, and that's what the board is representing. And I just think it would be a devastation to take that away right now. I think we need that here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. Ms. Rachel Hawthorne.
Councilman, President, and all assembled, I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Rachel Hathorn. I did want to make a comment about number 11. We had also sent in our name to speak on that issue and weren't called for it. It was regarding the investigation. I understand from the attorney that no investigation team has been hired. But there have already been 2 investigations that nothing came of. Everything that was said by everybody who said anything seems to have been either whitewashed or totally changed. So it would be good to go back and look at some of those things. Roy Katz was the conductor of the first one. He did a great job. But what came out of it didn't sound like what I said or what anybody that I knew said. Same with the second one. I won't go into that issue any more than that at this time. Regarding the need for the mental health board to be continued, I think it's very important that that board stay in place. It's also interesting that the people who seem to be pushing them hardest for it to be abolished are the very people, or the one person who is basically supposed to be overseen by that board. You know, it's kind of like getting rid of my supervisor so I can do anything I want to do. It seems sometimes to be that way. There was a point in time when Dr. Susan Mittendorf absolutely forbade any counselor at Ascension Counseling to speak to the board members. We were basically supposed to go into our offices and not even chance meeting them in the hall. That sounds to me like somebody who doesn't want somebody to know something. The board, according to what I understood from Cheryl Fontenot earlier today, should have a lot more oversight than it currently has. That she actually rewrote the ordinance or the law, whatever it was, to take away some of the power that they should have had, to give more power to the parish president. Is that what I heard you say?
That's correct.
And I guess that was at his request. Okay? So what that was about, I don't know. I haven't been a resident of this parish very long. But I do know that there is a need for a mental health board in this parish for our children's sake.
Ms. Hawthorne.
Yes.
Ms. Hawthorne.
Yes.
Right here, Ms. Hawthorne. Right here. Your 3 minutes is up, but I am going to allow you an extra minute because of the fact that you did put down for 11 and 14. I just didn't have this in my hand at the time.
Well,
so you'll have one more minute, ma'am. Your 3 minutes is up already for this agenda item, but I'm going to allow you another minute because you were down for 2 of them.
actually, the things that I need to say should not be said like
Okay.
this in this open
That's fine.
facility, but they need to be addressed to the whole council and to Mr. Hughes.
Thank you.
They really do. And I have a lot to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hawthorne. Okay, we'll move, let's see, to Mr. Brad Levine. Mr. Levine, I'm going to extend you the same courtesy. You are down for 2 of them. I'm going to give you 4 minutes to speak, sir.
I've spoken enough, Mr. Chairman. It's not going to take me long. Good evening, Council, Chairman, Mr. President.
Good evening, Brad.
First of all, I want to start off, saying kind of like a FYI. Did you all know that the director cut the emergency services? If someone walks in that's suicidal, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, they're turned away and told to call with a card and told to call to make an appointment to come back to seek services. Number one, this puts people at risk, puts that person at risk as well as the public. The Mental Health Board has steadily fought this service and advised her to do it, and it still has not been done. First, let me say, President Hughes, I'm sorry that you left the mental health meeting because I had a lot of questions for you. But I'll call and make an appointment with you, and we'll go over some things. On 11/14 of 07 this week, I picked up a Gonzales Weekly, as I always do. On the front page, it stated that Parish President Hughes to introduce a motion to abolish the Mental Health Board. To me personally, this is nothing but retaliation against the board because of the board's findings on the director, Susan Middendorf. I am deeply saddened that you have let this misconduct of the director go on this long, and you constantly blame the board on all of the issues. You stated that you want to take politics out of mental health, when in fact there never were in mental health until this administration. The board is there on a voluntary appointment to protect the citizens, for our children and adults, that the director has so rudely disarranged. I really want you to sit back and listen to your heart on this issue. This involves the children of our parish, the adults of our parish, and drug abuse, which is so much increasing. And the Mental Health Board fights to protect these services. I ask all of you tonight to ignore the introduction of Parish Hughes' ordinance to abolish the board and strengthen the board by giving back the power to run mental health. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Levine. Ms. Italia Gotro.
Tonight, I have a little bit of history of the last 4 years with the Mental Health Board that I would like to present to y'all and for you to think about it. In June the 17th of 2004, the parish president asked the then Mental Health Board, which I am the only member left, to dismiss the mental health director. His wishes was carried through, and the mental health director was let go. That was on June the 12th. In the Mirror, on July the 13th of 2004, he wrote that he wanted to abolish the Mental Health Board. That didn't happen, but we had this fight then anyhow. June the 20th, an email of how to take over the mental health budget because, quote, we are only an advisory board. That word advisory board is thrown around. I don't really know what advisory board in some people's opinion is. But this board took an oath to take care of the taxpayers' money. And that we fully intend to do, advisory or any other word that is put there. Okay, then in September the 21st, the minutes from Mr. Katz was how to control the meetings of the Mental Health Board. And this didn't work. So on May the 25th of 2006, he puts out, is this the right way to put this under the, how do I put this under the,
Just put it
just
under.
lay it on the table?
Yes, ma'am. Hold up, it's not on.
Sir?
Hold up, it's not on.
Power button? Okay. And this email was sent out. And I don't believe you can read it up there, but the essence of it is, keep all information pertaining to mental health away from the Mental Health Board. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been hard to operate a board with a parish president that thinks that you can operate something with all meetings and all information that you come to this board not brought to the board meeting. And he also took away the secretary and the mental health director from the meetings. That was done, and like I said, it's been a real battle trying to stay and represent the children of Ascension Parish who needs your mental health help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Italian. Okay, Ms. Zanoa Baptiste.
Good afternoon to the council, the governing body, the parish president, and to my councilman, Mr. Jared Berger. I would like to say thanks to you as a council, being the governing authority for Ascension Parish. I just rose tonight to remind you, in July of 2004, the same thing that is happening now happened then. And I quote, at your meeting in Donaldsonville, a proposal by Ascension Parish President Ronnie Hughes on Thursday to abolish the Parish Mental Health Board drew fire from many of the council members. President Hughes stated that we need to get politics out of the mental health. He also stated that a professional director would run the mental health aspect of the program. He encouraged the council to abolish the board. The motions passed with no objections. In August, that very next month, the Ascension Parish Council refused Parish President Ronnie Hughes' plan to abolish the Mental Health Board. Instead, you authorized our attorney to draft changes to the current mental health ordinance. Parish President Hughes stated that he had recently met with Jan Kasafi, PhD, Executive Director of Capital Area Human Service District, a 7-parish district that is concerned with mental health, addictive disorder, and development disabilities. She also stated that Ascension Parish has had a mental health and substance abuse board in place for almost 2 decades. Should be a point of pride and gratitude to those volunteers. Ms. Kasafis stated that in a letter to Parish President Hughes, I believe there are ample reasons to continue to support keeping a board, which is the least provides an advocacy to function. But more important, it fulfills an important function of ensuring that the services provided with local dollars are responsive to needs of the wide community and that the service change with time. She also stated to reflect current acceptable best practices within the field of mental health and addictive treatment, she recommended the council stagger the terms of the board members. Good. Stop paying the board members.
15 seconds, Mr. Nova.
To stop paying the board members, we were volunteers that were never paid. But in the ordinance, it states that the state recommended that we are paid for attending meetings, a fee of $50 or more, whatever the state is using now. She made the recommendation to use the diverse cultures found in the parish. That's good. And change the role of the board.
Time, Mr. Nova.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I would like to say unto you, thank you very much. Please don't allow your powers and your authority and your rights to be given over to political appetites.
Okay. All right, that's all the speakers that I have listed. We'll move now to agenda item number 14, introduction of an ordinance to abolish the Mental Health Board. Do I have a motion? Hearing no motion, the introduction fails. Move now to agenda item number 15, the introduction of an ordinance to address abandoned and inoperative vehicles on private property. Do I have a motion? Hearing no motion, motion fails. Public hearing ordinance. Public hearing to accept the 2007 amended budget and the proposed budget for year 2008. Legal Counsel Ricky Babin.
It's fairly lengthy. I'll try to be brief, so keep up. Whereas a revision of certain budgets for the 2007 budget year for the certain funds has been prepared and submitted to the council as follows. General operating surplus, fund balance after amendments. Listed: General, Road and Bridge, East Ascension Major Drainage, West Ascension Drainage, Sales and Use Tax, Criminal Court, Health Unit, Mental Health, Fire District number 2, Recreation Lighting Districts number 1 through 8, Hope Villa Maintenance Fund, LCD, BG, Darrow Sewer Project, Darrow Maintenance Fund, Lamar Dixon Expo Center, Geo Construction, Country Ridge Subdivision, S&U Tax Reserve, S&U Tax Sinking, East Ascension Major Sinking, East Ascension Major Reserve, East Ascension Construction Fund, Courthouse Construction, Road Project Construction Fund, Country Ridge Sewer System, Ascension Jail Fund, Law Officers Court Fund, Office Building Construction Fund, Ascension Insurance Fund, HUD Section 8, LCD, BG Project Hill Reveal, Ascension Parish Tourist Commission, Fire District number 1, Council on Aging, Sales and Use Tax District number 2 Fund, Sales and Use Tax District number 2 Sink, 23rd Judicial District Fins, Fire District number 1 Construction, Bayou Terrace Bond Fund, Water Wastewater Fund, Supplemental Environmental Project, Special Project Fund, Ascension Parish Maintenance Fund, Recreation B, Dental Insurance Fund, FEMA, Rep Loss, Homeland Security, Grant, Fire District number 3, Fire District number 3 Dedicated Fund, Fire District number 3 Reserve, Fire District number 3 Sinking, Fire District number 1 Reserve, Fire District number 1 Sinking, Fire District number 3 Construction. Listed next to it are the operating surplus, amended to, and fund balance after the amendments. Ordinance goes on to say, whereas a proposed operating budget for the year 2008 includes revenues of $51,782,550,000 plus required fund balance of $4,936,300 for a total equal to $56,698,850 and expenditures of $53,135,950. The capital budget includes revenues of $2,817,400 plus required fund balance of $47,819,100 for a total equal to $50,636,500 and expenditures of $54,199,400. Therefore, total operating and capital budget expenditures plus required fund balance equals $107,335,350, and expenditures equal $107,335,350. Interfund transfers are $31,699,100. Whereas the Ascension Parish Council has reviewed and considered such proposed budget and made revisions of same, and whereas said proposed budget was duly set after proper notice to the public for a public hearing which was held today, November 5th, 2007, as required by the revised statutes of the State of Louisiana and the Ascension Parish Home Rule Charter. Therefore, be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council, State of Louisiana, Section 1, 2007 amended budget, that the amended budget as prepared for 2007 are approved and appropriated by the Ascension Parish Council with the stipulation that transfer from the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 to the General Fund and the Road and Bridge Fund in the amount necessary to maintain a balanced fund, but will not exceed the amount authorized in the budget. The Recreation Fund is allocated 10% of the net 1% Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 revenues as an additional source of funding, and 10% of that share is provided to Recreation B. Funding is also provided as an allocation to Health Unit, Mosquito Control Department, Recreation, Recycling, and Litter Expense, Lamar-Dixon Expo Center Fund, Ascension Jail Project Fund, Country Ridge Sewer System, Sales and Use Tax Fund 1, Bond Sinking Fund, and FINS, Families in Need of Services, to the extent that the resulting revenues to the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 exceed expenditures and transfers, and after an adequate fund balance is maintained, then such excess will be transferred to a wastewater fund. The 1/3 net of the Sales and Use Tax District Number 2 revenues collected for the fire protection shall be shared by the Ascension Parish Fire District Protection District Number 1 at 65%, Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 2 at 13%, and Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 3 at 22%. All the unexpended appropriations will lapse to December 31st, 2007. Section 2, 2008 budget. That the budget proposed for the year 2008 as approved, adopted, and appropriated with the following provisions. Expenditures not contemplated in the operation of the government of Ascension Parish as set forth in this budget are to be approved in accordance with the provisions for Article 7, Section 701 of the Ascension Parish Charter. Transfer from the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 to the General Fund and the Road and Bridge Fund in the amount necessary to maintain a balanced fund, but will not exceed the amount authorized in the budget. The Recreation Fund is allocated 10% of the net 1% Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 revenues as an additional source of funding, and 10% of that share is provided to Recreation B. Funding is also provided by allocation to Lamar-Dixon Expo Center, Sales and Use Tax District Number 1, Sinking Fund, Office Building Construction Fund, DPW West Building, and FINS, Family and Needed Services. To the extent that the resulting revenues of the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 exceed expenditures and transfers, and after such adequate fund balance is maintained, then such excess shall be transferred to the Wastewater Fund. The 1/3 net of Sales and Use Tax District Number 2 revenues collected for fire protection shall be shared by Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 1 at 65%, by Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 2 at 13%, and Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 3 at 22%. Funding to provide for the 2007 encumbrances is hereby approved and appropriated. All unexpended appropriations will lapse at December 31st, 2008.
Motion to open the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Moved by Councilman Barrett to open the public hearing, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any opposition to public hearing? Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on the agenda item number 16 to accept the 207 amended budget and the proposed budget for 208, please approach the secretary, sign in. You'll have your 3 minutes.
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Seeing no one approaching the secretary, Ms. Barriga moves to close. Second by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Any discussion? Any opposition? The public hearing is now closed. Number 17, the ordinance.
Motion.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Adrian Thompson. Discussion. Councilman Savoy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a couple of items that I'd like to address to the board, to the council. One is in the proposed budget, there is $150,000 budgeted for improvements to Oak Grove Community Center. I would like an explanation on what improvements we're looking at doing to Oak Grove from the administration.
Anybody have that information? Mr. Ziegler, you know anything about it? That's not under yours, and that falls under recreation. Mr. Parish President, you know anything about it?
I know some of it's normal maintenance and painting and things, Jerry, but I'm not sure what all of it is.
That's what Mr. Savoy was talking about, the $150,000 that was dedicated to the Oak Grove Community Center.
Correct. Is it enlarging it, renovating it?
As I understand, it's gotten quite a bit older. Some renovations are needed and improvements to recreational areas, but I'm not exactly sure on every part of it, every dollar.
Maybe someone on the Recreation Committee could give us some information.
Any councilman have any information? Mr. Joseph, you're the chairman of that council. Do you have any information on that? Was that brought before your committee?
It wasn't on our budget.
Okay.
It didn't come through our budget.
Ms. Fontenot, you have a comment?
We've been updated on a regular basis from Ms. Kinchin, and from what I've understood is they've been painting and cleaning up and renovating, so this $150,000 is a surprise to me, and I believe there's also $10,000 in there for design or professional whatever, and I'm wondering if that's not $10,000 to design, renovations. So we might be looking at $160,000 is what I'm saying. It's not clear, and I don't know, and it is a question that we really need to ask.
There are some concerns as far as if it's going to be renovated. If it's going to be renovated and it's going to be enlarged, then that goes into our codes. And as far as that, then you're talking about looking at the parking. Do we meet our own regulations as far as the required parking? We are limited to space at that particular location. There is some concerns about this and not knowing the full details of the $150,000 allocated to this particular line item at this time.
I did want to say also, it was discussed several times in committee about doing this. The Recreation Committee did not recommend this. This did not come out of our committee. It was placed in there by one councilman.
Okay. Mr. Savoy, you still have the floor.
That's all on this one here.
Okay. You want to talk about it? Yes.
I'm on that rec committee also, and like Mr. Fontenot said, it has been talked about a little bit at the committee, but nothing, no plans. I don't know if it was an enlargement or what, but it came from the recreation director that was brought to us. She put it in the budget for an expansion, but no plans in front of us on what type of expansion or what was presented to us at a recreation committee.
Okay. Councilman McConnell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unless I'm misunderstanding this, I don't know that there's a lot of cause for alarm, because essentially you're just putting the money into the budget, but in order to expend this, there needs to be a plan brought forth before the council, and it needs to come from the Recreation Committee. It needs to come as a recommendation, and then it's still, even though it's a budget item, it still has to come before this council to be passed. So just because the item is in the budget does not mean that that it has to be expended. So we're having a long discussion on a $100 million budget over a $100,000 item that may or may not come to pass.
Okay. Any other discussion? Ms. Fontenot.
Well, I do have something on something else, but in order to get to this, to get to this one in particular, Mr. McConnell, I don't know. This is not the police jury system. This is, the home rule charter and the council, and we did not approve this going in there. I have a recreational park in Southwood Village in my district.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. She should address the chair, don't you think?
That's fine.
Well,
she can stay.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Anyway, I have a park in my district that has no bathrooms. These are the kind of type of items and stuff that need to be discussed in committee and need to be decided. Everybody here has a need in recreation. One council member should not be allowed to put something in our budget when all of us have needs. We need to prioritize, and we need to discuss it, and we need to pass it in committee and send it to the full council. That has not been done.
Yes, hang on one second. Mr. Savoy. I'll let you talk on it.
I'm ready to move on to my
Okay, well, hang on. Parish President.
Well, let me remind you, the administration puts together the budget, but we offer all of you the opportunity to come meet with us and discuss your needs. Now, if one person comes and does it, and you've had this budget now for a month, and you've had committee meetings the whole time, so don't come here tonight and give me this stuff about you don't know anything about it. Ms. Fonda, if you had a need within your district in a recreation facility, I assure you that need would have been discussed by Ms. Kinchin and the Chief Administrative Officer and the Finance Department as they put together the budget. The budget does not come through your committee process, but it comes with the administration to this council. And you've had a month to send it to whatever committees you want to. Now, if you choose to amend it tonight, it has to be in writing, remember. The charter requires all amendments to the ordinance be in writing. And so if you choose not to adopt it, that's fine too. But don't try to say we didn't know anything about it. As far as I know, every councilman that come to my administration with a request was looked at, be it recreation, roads, wastewater, whatever it was. So if you have a need of a park in your area, hopefully you've addressed that with Ms. Kinchin, and we would certainly look at including the budget I presented to you back in the middle of October.
Yes, Ms. Fontenot.
I just want to address that. Yes, it was addressed in committee, and Mr. Hughes, we decided as a council that we would do things by committee. You yourself disclaimed that we were not the police jury, we wanted to be councilmen. And we are trying to be councilmen here. And councilmen do not go run to the parish president and ask for individual items. We do it within our committee system. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Yeah, Mr. Savoy. Okay.
All right. I've been on this council for 13 years, and probably the last 12 years. When it came to budget time, we have always put the excess 1 cent into the road construction fund because that was the biggest cry and the loudest cry from the public. I just finished running parish-wide, and I can tell you, roads, and congestion was the #1 priority. Okay? Now, in the budget here, they've got the excess will be transferred to the wastewater fund, and that's the amended 2007 and the proposed 2008. Okay, just for your information. I mean, I want you to understand that you're taking the excess of the 1 cent sales tax above the budget to go into the wastewater when we have been putting it into the road construction. We had a parish-wide transportation study that was presented to us about 6 months ago, and I think it stated that we needed like $700 million to take care of Ascension Parish's roads. Now we're wanting to put the excess into the wastewater fund. Your information. Another thing that I would like to clear up, because we went through this last year and there was a misunderstanding on the 5%. There's a 5% pay raise for the employees. All right. I would like to hear from the administration exactly how the 5% is going to be applied, remembering that there was quite a bit of confusion last year on the 5%. Let's try to clear this up tonight on the 5%.
That wasn't cleared up in your meeting the other day with the Finance Department?
I did not. I had to work. I missed the finance. So if someone can enlighten me, that'd be great.
Gwen, would you like to come to the microphone and answer the councilman's question, please?
I'm sorry, Councilman Savoy, I was talking to the parish president.
Ms. Gwen, last year in our 2007 budget, we put in a 5% pay raise for the employees. Correct. There was quite a bit of confusion about who was going to get the 5%, how they were going to get it, with the step raise and all that. We had to bring it back up to clarify it. We want to clarify it tonight, going forward, so it doesn't have to come back to the council exactly how the 5% is going to be distributed, administered, or we're going to go through the same thing that we've done last year.
Final results.
Yes.
Last year. That's what I understand that's going to happen. We discussed that in the budget subcommittee meeting, that it was a desire of the council that not only the 5%, but to clarify that the steps, people in steps would proceed also.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clear up, and I do remember talking about that at the subcommittee, but I wanted it brought out before the full council so that everybody understands that the 5% will be across the board to every employee, and if you have a step raise coming in this year, you get the step raise in addition to the 5%. Okay, that clears that up. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I offer a substitute motion to accept the budget, amending the proposed budget to put the excess sales tax of the 1 cent in the road construction fund for the 07 and 08.
Okay, second. Mr. Savoy moves to approve the budget and amending it at the same time. What we'll need is to probably vote on the amendment first.
No, sir,
Offer the amendment.
You need the amendment in writing first.
Savoy, would you like to put that in writing?
And we need to have it ahead of time. So we could, I don't have this in my packet at all.
Well,
Mr. Chairman,
we haven't done that in the past.
we have it. It's not customary.
Amendments.
It hasn't been done in the last 3 years of this administration. So we want to make it right all of the last time.
Let's get it right before we leave.
Well, what do you don't understand about moving it from one to the other? Then what explanation?
I understand, Mr. Babin.
Where's Mr. Babin? Mr. Babin?
Our charter requires on ordinances, if they're going to be amended in the meeting where the public hearing has been held, that those amendments have to be in writing so everybody, including the public, has a chance to review those.
I think what you're referring to is under Section 701 budgets. Under subsection E, there's a provision about amendment after adoption. And I believe those amendments talk about an amendment of a budget once it's adopted. I do not necessarily believe you have to have another written motion or ordinance to simply adopt a form of the original budget that you're adopting. Otherwise, every time you change the word, you'd have to come back to the next meeting. So I think you can make a motion to adopt the budget presented by the parish president with A, B, or C lines stricken out of it. I think the language, and you're right, the language is in that charter, but I think what it talks to is amendments after adoption of the budget. And those lay out those procedures to adopt the budget or to amend the budget, which have to be done by ordinance. But I can't see as you have to have a new ordinance to change one word in your adoption, in the ordinance adopting your budget. Otherwise, I think you could.
If you would check the section on adoption of ordinances, not just for budget purposes, for any ordinance, and I think it's in there about being in writing if you're going to amend it in the meeting that it's being voted on. So make sure we get it right.
Which section are you referring? Enactment of the code? Emergency? Enactment of an ordinance?
Yes, sir.
I think you're referring to the section, as I see, the section that requires an amendment of an ordinance to be by ordinance.
And I think it says ordinances have to be reduced to writing. So we're, in other words, I'm just trying to make sure we are doing this properly. So I understand our charter requires all ordinances, and amendment is an ordinance to be in writing, so that people have it to look at it.
To amend an ordinance, it has to be by ordinance. So the ordinance to amend it, by definition, has to be in writing, because it takes an ordinance to amend another ordinance. But you can't, in order to adopt the budget, you have to agree on the language. To make a simple change in language of the budget that you're adopting, I don't think would take another ordinance, because that ordinance has never been adopted.
Right.
Yeah. Once that ordinance is adopted, I agree with you. It's got to be in writing to change it, because it takes an ordinance to amend that ordinance. If that piece of paper in front of you has not been adopted, it's a writing. Y'all can agree on it or throw it in the garbage can, or you can change it. But you got to agree on that language tonight. If not, I think the governor's going to adopt your budget.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Babin also, well, Mr. Savoy has offered a motion to adopt the budget, and he is as amended as his amendment. Would it be correct in saying that we make a motion to adopt the budget, then we entertain amendments? before adopting the budget as amended?
I would address his line item, the item he wants stricken or added. I would address those. Once you've agreed on those, you can adopt the president's budget with these two caveats.
With amendments? Okay.
I would address
Mr. Savoy.
the language changes first.
Okay. Mr. Savoy?
I don't want to use the term amendment. That's what I was just talking to Ms. Gwen about. The term amendment is confusing because we're talking about amendment of a budget that's been adopted, or we're talking about a change in language of the ordinance.
Okay. Well, we changed it in language. Mr. Savoy's is a change in language. I do have an amendment that needs to be placed on it per the finance dealing with drainage.
Okay. Now that's,
I have it in written.
And it's written and he has it.
That's different. That's a real amendment.
Okay.
Okay? All right. What we will need to do then, we will need to offer the amendment first, to vote on the amendment. Am I correct in that, Mr. Bowden?
The real budget amendment. That's why I'm using the term.
That's correct. If he has amendment, we'll vote on the amendment.
Yes, you can do that.
Am I right on that? Now, I don't want to do this wrong.
Well, I think
Mr. McConnell.
I just think it's a language problem. It's an amendment to the motion, not an amendment to the budget per se, because there is no budget yet. We haven't adopted it.
Okay, Mr. Lambert, I'm sorry. Mr. Savoy, we'll come back to your language, okay? Mr. Savoy, excuse me, Mr. Lambert, you do have an amendment you'd like to place?
Right. From the East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 expenditures, we need to provide for an off-road bridge cost amount in the amount of $190,000 for the 2008 budget.
Second.
And that's moved by Mr. Lambert, motion by Mr. Lambert for the amendment, second by Mr. McConnell. Any discussion? Any opposition to that amendment? No opposition to that amendment is accepted. Okay, I'm not sure. Well,
we can amend the budget. We haven't adopted it yet.
We're going to adopt their budget as amended. Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Mr. Savoy will entertain your language change. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. McConnell.
For clarity, could Mr. Savoy please repeat his motion and his language change? Your motion was to adopt the budget, but with a language change.
His motion should be to adopt the budget as amended with the language change.
With the language change where it states that the excess sales tax from the 1 cent sales tax be transferred to the road construction fund, both 07 and 08. Now, there's been a request by a councilman that I will yield to that we will split. What my language will read, 50% of the excess will go to road construction, 50% will go to water, wastewater. That's my language.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Savoy, second by Councilman Barriga. Any discussion? Ms. Fontenot.
I had something I wanted to add too. I really just noticed it tonight. I have not had time to pour over this budget like I have in the past. We got it later than usual, and there's been a lot going on, campaigning and all kinds of other stuff. But I was just noticing tonight that we have no money in litter. Recycling in litter is zero. Anybody can give me a reason why?
It's in road and bridge.
It's in road and bridge.
Look under road and bridge.
Because it's got it in health unit. There's a line item with recycling and litter. Then in recreation, there's a.
Road and bridge.
And so now it's in road and bridge. And how much is it? Do you remember? Or can you tell me what?
25,000. 20,000.
Okay,
All
I'm
right.
happy.
All right. Any other discussion? Any opposition to the motion as amended? No opposition. Passes. All right. Let's move to agenda item number 18, a public hearing to authorize the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, to proceed with and not to exceed $11 million financing through the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority, authorizing ratifying the Parish of Ascension's request for a Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority to issue its revenue bonds, authorizing to borrow by the Parish of Ascension of the proceeds from the sales thereof to acquire, design, construct, and equip and expand to the existing jail facility of the Parish of Ascension, and to make the water, sewage, drainage improvements to the existing jail facility, providing for the repayment of the security thereof, approved in the terms of the sale of bonds, authorizing the form and the execution of the loan agreement, authorizing the form and the execution of the excuse me. You want to get that one from me, Sheriff? Past President? Ancillary financing documents authorizing an execution and deliver of local services agreement between the Parish of Ascension and law enforcement district of a Parish of Ascension, and otherwise providing with respect thereto. Malcolm Dugas. Mr. Dugas is represented by Mr. LeBlanc and Mr. Jim Ryan.
Yes, this is simply the passing of the ordinance for the jail and the sewage in the air and that reaches services the jail. And we've talked about it many times. Y'all voted on it already with regard to the introduction and everything. If there's any questions, we'll be happy to attempt to answer.
We'll need to read, or did I just read it?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, well, it's not read completely. Mr. Babin, you gonna need, or Mr. LeBlanc, you gonna need to read the rest of it?
I'll be happy to.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going to An ordinance authorizing the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, to proceed with a not-to-exceed $11 million financing through Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority. Authorize and ratifying the Parish of Ascension's success of the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority to issue its revenue bonds, authorizing the borrowing by the Parish of Ascension of the proceeds from the sale thereof to acquire, design, construct, and equip an expansion of the existing jail facility in the Parish of Ascension, and to make sewage and drainage improvements on the existing jail facility, providing for the repayment of the security, therefore approving the terms of the sale of the bonds, authorizing the form and execution of the loan agreement, authorizing the form of the execution of the ancillary financial documents, authorizing the execution and delivery of the local services agreement between the Parish of Ascension and the law enforcement district of the Parish of Ascension, and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Public hearing, Mr. Second.
Moved by Councilman Barrigan, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion on not open the public hearing? None? So we'll open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. You may approach our secretary and speak on the agenda item in front of us, and you'll have 3 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak?
Motion to close, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Councilman Barrigan moves to close the public hearing, second by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Any discussion? Public hearing is now closed. We'll move now to the ordinance.
Move the ordinance, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Barriga, second by Councilman Adrian Thompson. Any discussion? Any opposition to the motion? None. Ms. Suzanne, please note that Councilman Shake Snyder and Councilman Savoy stepped out. They didn't vote on that particular issue.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I have the original ordinance in 5 copies. I need your signature and Suzanne's signature on it. I will leave it with her. Y'all can sign this before you leave.
Thank you.
Keep it and get y'all.
Thank you, Mr. LeBon. All right, sir. We'll move now to planning and zoning recommendations. Agenda item number 20, Town Park Center, small plan unit development located on the southerly side of Swamp Road, approximately 1,500 feet southwest of Airline Highway, for Swamp Road Partners, LLC, by Alvin Fabern and Associates, to accept or deny.
Mr.
The Planning Commission recommended approval with the condition that prior to the first certificate of occupancy, the traffic signal must be installed, an elevation of the landscape, the removal of the willows. Zoning Commission recommendation was to approve same condition.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion to approve planning and zoning's recommendation.
Moved by Councilman Barriga to approve, second by Councilwoman Fontenot. Any discussion? Any opposition to that motion? Having no opposition, the motion passes.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Just before we do that, I want to ask all the councilmen, do not leave. You need to just gather right here so we can take a quick picture for Miss Bobby, if you would, right here. Now I'll entertain that motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Berger, second by Councilman Todd Lambert to adjourn. We stand in adjournment.